It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show focusing on fishing, hunting, outdoor recreation, destinations, and conservation in the region where you live and play. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you by Max Lure Company, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Wallowa County. And now, let's see what's going on in the field and on the water with your host, John Cruz.
We are starting off the show today with an interesting story from the Tri-Cities Herald in South Central Washington. There's a big, lonely stretch of highway north of there bordering the Hanford Nuclear Reservation, and unfortunately, there has been a high number of deer and elk killed here after being hit by vehicles. Looking for a way to reduce these collisions, the folks at Hanford are going to try an idea that's working in the state of Wyoming. They're going to put white canvas sacks over roadside posts every 50 feet along the highway. What they found in Wyoming when they did this is that when vehicle headlights shine on these white bags, the bags look like a fleeing white-tailed deer, and that white rump is a sign of danger to animals. This simple act of putting these bags on roads in the Cowboy State reduced car collisions there with deer and elk by 65%. Incredible. They also found that the animals would cross the roads eventually, but they wouldn't do it when those bags were shining white because of oncoming traffic lights. This is a great idea. I hope it works at Hanford, and I hope it'll be expanded throughout the Northwest. This week on the show, we've got 3 places to visit and enjoy the outdoors during the months of September and October. One of them is the Craters in the Moon National Monument in eastern Idaho. Greg Reed, the chief interpretive ranger there, will tell you about this otherworldly landscape shaped by volcanoes that's really worth the trip to see, even if the tours and cave explorations you can usually enjoy here are on hold during this COVID-19 summer. Max Pro staffer Jaime Rodriguez, the man behind J-Rod Angling, joins us for an extended Max Minute to tell you how he's been catching some really big walleye out of the Columbia River this summer. And sticking with fishing, we'll be taking you to Jamison Lake Resort in eastern Washington. Located near the little town of Mansfield, this desert lake was a longtime favorite for trout anglers, but faded away as a destination a few years ago after persistent algae blooms. Well, guess what? They've solved that problem, and the fishing is back better than ever, not only for big rainbow trout, but for some really nice-sized kokanee, too. Julie Stilley, the co-owner of Jamison Lake Resort, will tell you more about this lake that really turns on for fishing in September and October. One other place we'll tell you about this week where the fishing is good is the wild and scenic Rogue River in southern Oregon, and you can fish it in style with Helfrich Outfitters. Kelsey Helfrich will join us in just a few minutes to tell you about the 4-day fishing or fishing and rafting trips you can enjoy with them. On the fishing trips, you'll be fly fishing for the famous half-pounder steelhead and some quite a bit bigger too out of drift boats or rafts, and you'll be staying at a different lodge every night and getting fed pretty darn well along the way. If you don't fish, you can do this as a rafting trip or hike from lodge to lodge and let Helfrich Outfitters haul your gear down the river in their rafts, meeting you every night at your lodge. Sounds like a great adventure to me. Before we talk fishing and outdoors travel to some really wonderful destinations, though, it's time to check in again with David Sparks to see what he has for us this week on Sportsman Spotlight, brought to you by the Ag Information Network of the West.
Mountain Rescue, David Sparks with Sportsman Spotlight. While I was walking through a sportsman show in Boise, I met Linda Carney of Idaho Mountain Rescue, and she talked about finding lost hunters.
Relatives will call in to the sheriff, and then the sheriff calls us out. And then within an hour, we can be at the location. And we deploy search dogs, use airplanes to try to spot people. We have a tech team that can climb the mountains in case someone has gone off a cliff, which has happened. We are a all-volunteer operation. We earn our own funds.
Have you got any examples of a rescue of a hunter that you can come up with?
Several. We have gone up to to Idaho City to find, an overdue hunter. And we have found hunters that were asleep in their truck, even though their wife was worried about them.
How big a part of it is the dog? You've got a dog with you. It's called Search Dog. Tell me about the dog.
We have 3 certified dogs at this moment, 9 dogs on our team training. It takes anywhere from 2 to 5 years to get a dog trained.
And who does the training?
We do ourselves. The owner does its own training. We have to spend our own money to go to seminars. But this one is an area wilderness dog. She is off lead. She will go out, locate the person, any human, and then she finds the person, comes back, bumps me, and takes us back to the person.
David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight.
America is best when we stand united around the grill and the protein choice of grill pros. Steak. Yes, steak. The perfect foundation to handle any taste. Tangy and sweet, spicy and bold. Every flavor perfectly savored. Join your fellow Americans in delicious celebration at UnitedWeSteak.com. Beef. It's what's for dinner. Funded by beef farmers and ranchers.
I'm Ian McGregor of the McGregor Company. Our success depends on those we serve being successful.
My name is Brian Crow. I farm in Whitman County. McGregor's came out with Kickstarter. Wow, what a difference.
It's not about making a sale. It's about producing the best crop to help our customers succeed.
Right before herbicide applications, consistently, the plant was 1/3 taller and the root mass was 1/3 large, which was amazing.
The McGregor Company, dedicated people who care.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz, and if you love spending time on rivers, whether it be in a drift boat or maybe rafting and maybe throwing in a little bit of fishing too, I've got something special for you. It's being offered by Helfrich River Outfitters, and it involves some time on some rivers in Oregon and Idaho. With us here to tell you more about it is Kelsey Helfrich, co-owner of Helfrich River Outfitters. Kelsey, great to have you on the air.
Thank you so much for having me.
I got an email from you the other day offering some trips on the Rogue River on a drift boat where you do some fly fishing for steelhead, multi-day trips. Sounds absolutely fantastic to me. Why don't we go ahead and tell our listeners more about this? But first, why don't we tell them about the wild and scenic portion of the Rogue River they'll be traveling through and the summer steelhead fishing available there?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the Rogue is one of my absolute favorite places in the world. It was one of the original 4 wild and scenic designated rivers. And that wild and scenic section that's been set aside is so pristine and beautiful. And the trips that we offer down there are 4-day trips where you're staying in lodges and then you're fishing for steelhead. And it's all fly fishing out of drift boats. You're fishing from the boat, so you're not getting out and waiting. And between the scenery and the fishing and the lodging and everything, it's kind of the full package.
In terms of what part of the Rogue River this is, let's go ahead and put it in. Well, let's go to Grants Pass, Oregon. Where is it from there?
So it's going to be west of Grants Pass, so west of I-5. And the section of river that we run is about 43 miles, and it goes from the little community of Belize down to the community of Agnes. So where we take out just about 30 miles from the Pacific Ocean. So those steelhead that are coming in are just bright, fresh, really good fighting fish. It's just kind of the perfect little niche there.
Well, let's talk about the steelhead. Now, I've heard about the half-pounders of the Rogue. Is that what we're talking about here? Or are we talking more like 4, 6, 8-pound summer steelhead?
You know, what we're targeting on these trips is primarily that half-pounder run. It's a jack steelhead. There's only a handful of rivers that have this run. These fish are born in the river. They head out to the ocean. They don't make it very far out into the ocean, so they're not as negatively impacted by some of the ocean conditions like a lot of the other steelhead runs are. So they stay pretty close to the shore there. They really don't travel too terribly far from the mouth of the river. And then the following summer, they turn around, they come right back into the river. And so they're kind of, I like to refer to them as an oversized trout on steroids.
I like it.
They're bigger than your average trout. They're bright. They jump. They run. They're full of fight. And we're catching them all on 5 and 6 weight fly rods, weighted flies. So you're casting, you're twitching it. We call the Rogue River twitch. It's kind of a little up twitch, and you let your fly swing through a spot, twitching it, and you can pretty much predict right where they're going to grab it and run.
Oh, this sounds fabulous. What does a good day look like in terms of the number of these half-pounder steelhead that are caught and released?
You know, it varies a lot. You get into these waves of fish that are moving up through. And so, you know, on a slower day, everybody's still going to catch a handful of fish. On a good day, you know, you can catch 30 fish pretty easy. But yeah, it varies. And that's kind of one of the fun things about it too, is you're waiting to get into one of those pockets of them. And at the same time, while we're fishing for those half-pounders, we're also fishing for the bigger adult steelhead that are moving through. And you're also catching those on the 5- and 6-weight fly rods. So as soon as you hook into one of those big adult steelhead, you've got a hell of a fight on your hands, and it's just a total kick.
It sounds like an absolute blast. Let's give folks some details about these Rogue River drift boat trips you're offering that are multi-day trips. Go ahead and walk us through what these trips look like.
So it's a 4-day trip. You know, we meet you in the morning of the first day and head off down the river. It's a pool and drop kind of river. So there's some fun rapids, some really nice tail outs that you're fishing. You know, you kind of just work your way down. All of our boats leapfrog each other down the river. There's 2 guests in each boat. We fish both guests at the same time. So you typically have one person standing up casting, the other person sitting down trolling, both, you know, with flies, doing the Rogue River twitch. And so then we stop for a nice lunch in the middle of the day. We do a hot lunch every day. The hatchery fish down there we can keep. And so we have an option of cooking up some fresh caught fish right there on the riverbank that we caught that morning, and do nice big salads and soups and hamburgers and all sorts of different yummy stuff. Then you fish all afternoon, leapfrogging again with the rest of the group, and then you pull into a private riverside lodge in the evening. So each evening our guests get to enjoy their own private room or their own private cabin with its own bathroom, and then everybody comes together for a nice dinner, hanging out in the lodge. So even though the weather on the Rogue is usually really nice, feels kind of funny to be steelhead fishing in shorts and a T-shirt early season, but no matter what the weather is, even if you get a little bit of a rainy trip, you have the nice warm lodge to enjoy each evening.
I'll tell you what, Kelsey, this Rogue River drift boat trip sounds fantastic. Now, you have openings basically from the 1st of September all the way through early November. How much do one of these trips cost?
So our trips are $22.50 per person, and that's going to cover all your lodging, all fishing gear, professional guides that are giving you instruction. Everything is pretty much included in the whole package. So I think it's a pretty reasonable price.
Oh, I absolutely agree. As a matter of fact, what you just described sounds like the absolute trip of a lifetime to me. Now, here's another question. A lot of our listeners might be thinking, this sounds fabulous, but I'm not a fly angler. Can you go ahead and take part in this without any experience with a fly rod?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we actually end up with a lot of people on our trips that have never fished before. The Rogue is a really nice place to get started because you're not dry fly fishing, you're not constantly casting. People actually don't have to cast if they don't want to, if they'd prefer to just sit and twitch, and they can move the rod from side to side and keep it really simple. They're welcome to do that. But our guides are all really great instructors, and they love getting people up, teaching them how to cast, getting them started. I actually prefer people that don't know anything about fishing because they don't have any preconceived notion of what they're doing, and they're ready to learn and open-minded. But all levels are great. You know, it's the water on the Rogue has a lot of variety to it, where you're fishing big tailouts, you're fishing shelves, you're fishing in between big boulders, and just, you know, all sorts of different kind of water to fish. And so it's really conducive to having all different levels of anglers. A
question for you. I understand that these are designed to be fly fishing trips. Is spin fishing, like with spoons and spinners, allowed in this section of the river? And if somebody was just bound and determined to do that, could they do it on either this trip or one of your other trips?
You know, it is something that we allow sometimes, you know, especially when we have the silvers running up through.
Right.
You'll get those silvers jumping in some of those big pools. And it is kind of fun to have a spinner along and to cast it out there. You know, you can catch a pretty nice fish that way. You know, we try to find a balance. You know, you have people that really just want to spinner fish, and we'll let them do that. But we really try to encourage them to at least give the fly fishing a try because it's such a fun way to catch those fish.
Oh, I agree.
And, usually we can typically convert them somewhere along the line throughout the trip.
And, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool spinner fisherman, but I've done my share of fly fishing, and I would agree. But if those silvers are out there, I definitely would want my spinning rod and a number 4, number 5 blue fox to throw at them. So let's talk about one more thing. For those who don't necessarily want to fish or maybe want to enjoy the Rogue in a different way, you also offer rafting trips or combination rafting fishing trips that are also multi-day with lodging too.
Yeah, our late August and early September trips are a great time for people to do that, especially when you have groups where some people want to fish and some people don't. You can have the option to, do combination where you have 1 or 2 drift boats and 1 or 2 rafts, or however we need to orchestrate that to fit what the group wants to do. And then we can switch out at lunch during the day, or certain people can just raft and certain people can just fish. And then on those trips, the other really nice thing about the Rogue is the hiking trail. Oh. There's a wonderful hiking trail along the whole Rogue River. It's really well maintained. And we end up with quite a number of guests that like to come out and hike. And so they'll raft or hike, or they can hike half of the day. We have some groups that actually come down and hike the entire river. And we carry all your bags and take care of all the food, and so nobody has to carry much more than just a water bottle and just hike along and enjoy themselves. And so there's lots of different fun options, and these trips are really customizable, so we can make it work for any group as to whatever activities people want to do.
Well, we have got to go, but folks, whether you want to fly fish the Rogue or raft the Rogue or hike the Rogue and do it in style, Helfrich River Outfitters is the company you'll want to do it with. The website to go to is helfrichoutfitter.com. That's helfrichoutfitter.com for Helfrich River Outfitters, offering trips on the Rogue River this summer and early fall and on several other rivers too, which we'll have to talk about another time. Kelsey, thank you so much for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you so much.
Backcountry hunters and anglers, the men and women working hard to keep public lands in public hands. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
You're back with more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
It's time for another Max Minute, and with us this week is Max Lure Pro staffer Jaime Rodriguez, the man behind J-Rod Angling. Jaime, great to have you on the air.
Great to be here, John. Thank you for having me.
Jaime, you've been having a summer full of big walleye. I want to talk about 2 in particular. The first one was a tournament-winning big fish walleye you caught near the Tri-Cities. How'd you catch it?
We caught her right out of Aragon, in the Aragon area on the Columbia River, off of a jig that was actually hand-painted by my late friend Calvin Burkhardsmeyer.
Oh, that is really cool. What a great way to win that. That measured 31 inches, definitely a huge walleye. I also want to talk about the one your son caught fishing with you on the Columbia River. This one was caught with a Max Lure product.
Yep. We were bottom walking worm harnesses with a 1.5 UV smile blade with 1 cha-cha float. And we were just going along this buoy marker in about 32, 35 feet, following the contour pretty tight. And my son was able to stick a big one.
And that one also measured 31 inches. A real quick note, we were talking before we went on the air here about those buoy markers. Those are something that anglers should pay attention to, and not just because they're marking the channels.
Right, yep. Buoy markers in particular mark some kind of structure where the water might come up. So you might have a flat, shallow flat, or some kind of sunken island, and those are definitely hangout areas for walleye.
All right, there's some great advice about how to catch big walleye out of the Columbia this summer and fall. We're going to have Jaime on again next week, but in the meantime, check out his Facebook page and follow it. You'll find it at J-Rod Angling. Thanks, Jaime.
Thanks a lot, John.
I'm Bob Loomis, and I fish for walleye. Sometimes when I'm out on the water, I feel like a destroyer captain hunting for targets with my electronics. I'm not hunting submarines, though. I'm hunting fish, and when I find that big one on the fish finder, I want to make sure she's going to bite. That's where the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig from Max Lure comes in. The Smile Blade spins and flashes at ultra-slow speeds, and the one-of-a-kind red hook keeps that bait moving in a way the fish can't resist. It's the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig. You're the destroyer. This is your depth charge. Only from Max Lure.
Go fishing, make money, help out, and have fun. That's what the Northern Pike Minnow Sport Reward Fishery is all about. From May 1st through September 30th, catch pike minnow out of the Columbia and Snake Rivers and turn them in for cash. Pike minnow eat juvenile salmon and steelhead. Each one you catch helps more juvenile fish reach the ocean. Pike minnow are worth anywhere from $5 to $8, and keep an eye out for tagged fish worth $500. Find out more at pikeminnow.org and go fishing.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter and has what you need as a hunter, angler, hiker, paddler, camper, and outdoors enthusiast. They also carry an extensive assortment of firearms and ammunition you simply can't find anymore at many big box stores. On top of that, their knowledgeable staff is here to help you purchase the right gear so you can get the most out of your outdoor experience. Visit your local Sportsman's Warehouse store today or shop online anytime at sportsmans.com.
You're back in with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. We've been telling you about destinations to visit this summer, and I've got a real different one for you. If you've ever driven through some of the remote highways of eastern Idaho, you might have been suddenly startled to see the landscape change from sagebrush to, well, this huge field 50 miles long of black volcanic rock. If you've ever been there, you probably know you've been to the Craters of the Moon National Monument. And with us here to tell you more about it is Greg Reed, the lead interpretive park ranger there. Greg, great to have you on the air.
Thank you. It's great to be with you today, John.
When I first visited Craters of the Moon, it really was that jarring sort of like, what is this place? And it looks, from a geological point of view, like it just happened like last week. Tell our listeners more about Craters of the Moon and the landscape there, how it formed.
Yeah, sure. So that was very astute of an observation on your part, John, because geologically speaking, this did just happen yesterday. You know, what Craters of the Moon is, it's basically a field of lava flows. It's where we have a place right here in the middle of the Snake River Plain. You know, we're in southeast, Idaho in the wide open Snake River Plain, which is a very flat valley that the Snake River runs through. And here there's a series of cracks and fissures that are opening up in the ground. And, we call that rifting. And the rifting here on the surface of Craters of the Moon depressurizes magma that's deep in our lower crust. And that gives that magma, which is under pressure, a way to expand and a way to reach the surface. And we end up having a lava flow. So because of the rift right here, we've had active lava flows, at least 8 major eruptive periods in the last 15,000 years. So this is like really recent. And if we look at the average between eruptions, we can average out those eruptive periods to about 2,000 years in between, different volcanic eruptions. And our last eruptive period here at Craters of the Moon was about 2,100 years ago, was our last lava flow. So 2,000 years, may sound like a long time, and indeed it is in, human terms, but in terms of lava flows in the continental United States, these are some of the youngest lava flows that we can find. There's some in Northern California that are about 1,000 years old. Ours are as young as 2,000 years old. So geologically speaking, this is really recent. This area is active in terms of the rifting. We haven't had any, liquid lava flowing for 2,000 years, but we absolutely expect there to be lava flows and volcanic eruptions here in the future.
Wow. So if people are driving through this, they're thinking this is a lifeless area. Now, you and I both know this is not true. There's actually quite a bit of wildlife that wanders around the National Monument here. But if people go inside the monument, if they follow that road the National Park Service sign invites you into, what are some of the things during a normal year people can see and do here?
Well, during a normal year, there's lots and lots of volcanic features that can be seen along the loop road. There's cinder cones and volcanic vents and vast fields of lava that at one time was flowing across the landscape. And, we're high desert here at Craters of the Moon. We're at about 6,000 feet. It's a land of extremes, extremely hot in the summertime, extremely cold in the wintertime. We get a lot of snow in the winter, that sort of thing. And So it's a harsh place for plants to grow. So there's not a lot of, habitat here, but when you look closely, the biodiversity is fairly high here, which is surprising for a lot of folks. We have small mammals that live here in the park, like marmots and pikas and chipmunks and things of that nature. Mule deer, pretty common residents in the region year-round. And just north of Craters of the Moon, we have the Pioneer Mountain Range. And, now when you get up into the mountains of Idaho, you can find bear, wolf, coyote, elk, pronghorn, you name it. And all of those animals are literally right across the road from us. And so anything that occurs in the mountains of Idaho in the region can potentially show up here at Craters of the Moon. So we've had bear sightings, we've had elk, we've had moose.
Wow.
We've had, certainly we have an ancient pronghorn migration route, and pronghorn, to this day, since the last ice age, have migrated through the northern section of Craters of the Moon National Monument. So we've had mountain lion sightings, badgers, you name it. So anything that occurs in the region in terms of wildlife could potentially be spotted here at Craters of the Moon.
Let's talk about some of the things that, unfortunately, you're not able to do this year. You've got several lava tube caves, and you mentioned that it is really hot there, and we visited in the summer, it certainly
Correct.
was. But if you get inside those caves, it's nice and cool in there. There's also ranger-led tours. There's a nice visitor center there. However, I'm guessing none of those things are open or offered during this summer of COVID-19, are they?
Well, you're right, John. I mean, this is an unusual summer for us, and most of the park is open and accessible and available to people. We're open daily. People come in. We're open for hiking, for camping. We've got a campground here. Most of our hiking trails, all of the park roads are open, so people can definitely come and enjoy Craters of the Moon. We're still, pretty busy, even though this is an odd COVID year. But you're right, we're not leading any ranger programs this year due to the fact that, with COVID guidelines, we can't really have any gatherings,
right,
and that would be a ranger program. So we're not doing the cave tours this particular summer. We're not doing any ranger talks, but, our rangers are, outside. We have sort of an open-air visitor center, so when people first come to the park, you can interact with the rangers. We'll tell you about the trails and, give you trail maps and that sort of thing. And so there's a lot that can be seen and done here, even though this is an unusual season. And just one other thing I'll mention relative to the lava tubes is that, a lot of folks, when they show up, they find that our, lava tubes are closed this summer, and, the assumption is that it's, COVID related. Right. And actually, it's not. The reason that our lava tubes are closed to access this summer is because we've been having a lot of seismic activity in the area. In the end of March by Stanley, Idaho, which is centered about 3 hours north of us, there was a big fault that geologists thought was dormant, and it turns out it wasn't, and it's called the Sawtooth Fault, and it's a pretty big fault is what we're learning. And that slip at the end of March produced a 6.5 earthquake. Everyone in southern Idaho felt it, and we certainly felt it here at Craters of the Moon. We had some surface rocks come down across some parking lots, and so it shook out here pretty good. And, this fault is still settling, so we still have a possibility of aftershocks that could be as high as 4.0 on the Richter scale, which is, something that we would obviously take seriously, because if we did have another seismic event and people were in those lava tubes, certainly it could potentially, be dangerous. The salt lava here is, fairly brittle, and so for safety reasons, we have them closed this year, but we certainly anticipate opening those in the future for the public.
Thanks for clarifying that. Suddenly COVID doesn't seem so scary in a cave, but getting buried by an earthquake, that does seem a little scary. So you probably made the right call there. Despite the facts, you can't go in the caves and they can't offer tours, there's still lots of reasons to go. This is an incredible landscape to take in. There's lots of interpretive signage. There's interpretive rangers like Greg that can teach you about what's happening here. There's hiking available. There's camping available. And it's just something completely different and alien than you've probably ever seen before. Greg, as we roll into September, what are the days and hours for Craters of the Moon National Monument this fall?
So we're open year-round. We're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Our visitor center hours, we're available in the bookstore and at the visitor center to provide, folks with information pretty much from 8 in the morning till 4:30 weekdays. We're open till 6 on Friday and Saturday evenings. But the park itself is open 24 hours a day, so people can, come into the park at any hour, and they can hike and, enjoy the park. A lot of the interest in visiting Craters of the Moon is not just during the day, but it's at night. We're an international dark sky park. We're one of the best places in the country to view the Milky Way, and a lot of the interest of Craters of the Moon is night sky photography, observing the Milky Way and the night sky, and so we're open 24 hours a day for visitation.
All right, that's Craters of the Moon National Monument, a great place to visit, whether it be day or night or summer or fall. You can find out more by going to nps.gov. Just look for Craters of the Moon. You'll find all sorts of information there to help you plan your visit. Greg, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's a pleasure speaking with you today, John.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers seeks to ensure North America's outdoor heritage of hunting and fishing. Lend your voice to the fight by visiting backcountryhunters.org and join the 25,000 men and women who have pledged to defend wildlife and public access.
You're back in with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. I want to help you rediscover a lake that you probably haven't heard about in a long time. It's Jamison Lake. It's located in eastern Washington near the small town of Mansfield. It's a sagebrush and cliff-lined lake. Lots of sunshine here and lots of trout too. Now, my friends, Chris and Allison Chapman, have been showing me pictures of trout, really big trout, and lots of them they've been catching there this summer. They've been staying at Jamison Lake Resort when they go there, and with us on the line is Julie Stilley, the co-owner of Jamison Lake Resort. Julie, it's great to have you on the air.
Thank you, John. It's great to be here.
Julie, it's been a long time since I've been to Jamison Lake. How long is this lake?
It's roughly 2 miles long.
And it's a great rainbow trout fishery. We'll get into that in a minute. But before we get there, let's talk about how to get to Jamison Lake, because I understand if you Google directions to Jamison Lake Resort, you're going to be going on roads that you're not supposed to be on. Very briefly, how do you get there? We'll start off in, well, we'll say Wenatchee. So let's say people get to Wenatchee in central Washington. Where do they go from there?
So from Wenatchee, you get on Highway 97 to McNeil Canyon Road, go up the canyon, take a left on 172, and when you come into Mansfield, take a right on Mansfield Boulevard, and it ends at the lake.
Perfect. Absolutely love that. Now, let's talk about this fishery, because I'd say 30 years ago, 25 years ago, everybody talked about going to Jamison Lake. At that time, there was 2 resorts that were open on the lake, one on the south end, yours on the north end, and people just went gaga over the trout fishery, especially the trout fishing available there during the month of October, which is a little unusual when it comes to hot fisheries. But then it kind of died off. Was it like algae blooms, as I recall, that kind of, knocked down that fishery for a few years?
Yes, it was. And so I got engaged with WDWF, and we've introduced some freshwater snails and things to correct that. So the fishing's been fantastic. Very limited algae blooms. I think I've only had 2 this year, and none of that red, so it's been fantastic.
All right. Well, let's talk about the fish in there. They're all rainbows, aren't they?
So we had introduced kokanee into the lake.
Oh.
And then there's the rainbow trout and triploid.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and break those down. We'll start off with the bread and butter rainbows that most people associate with Jamison Lake. The ones I've been seeing, they've been like 12 to 16 plus inches this summer, haven't they?
They have, and so the record on the lake so far was caught by me. It was a 9-pound rainbow off the bank.
Wow.
So we've been really having a great summer, a great fishing season. I've seen 3, 4, 5-pounders coming out of the lake.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Now, tell me about the kokanee. I had no idea there was even kokanee at all in Jamison Lake. Any size to them? Any numbers?
So they've been about 14 to 16 inches as well.
Those are fantastic kokanee. And is it pretty easy to get a limit, or do you have to work for them?
No, it's pretty easy to get a limit. The fishing's fantastic, whether you're trolling or off the bank.
And on top of that, you got those triploids, and I'm guessing those are those 3, 4, 5+ pounders you're talking about. This sounds fantastic. Let's go ahead and break down how most folks are catching them. Now, the nice thing about your resort in Jamison Lake is you can have success fishing right off the bank. You don't need a boat, do you?
That's correct. All of our RV spots, which we have 40, are about 20 feet from the lake. So, yes, you can enjoy your visit and fish from your RV or your tent.
Nice. Are most people doing the power bait drill, just fishing power bait off the bottom, or are they fishing like, I don't know, old school marshmallows, worms, or eggs, or are they tossing spinners and spoons?
So the most successful is the garlic chartreuse and that powered dough.
Okay.
So if you're fishing off the bank, you do about a 3-foot leader, about a half-ounce barrel weight and cast out, and literally within minutes you usually get a bite.
What about the kokanee? I know people have got to be trolling for those. How are they doing that?
So they are using downriggers because the kokanee are deep, and they're using flatfish.
Really? Any color in particular?
Orange.
All right. Orange flatfish for kokanee. Man, this is like really, really old school. I haven't heard about that technique, well, even longer than I thought about fishing at Jamison Lake again. I've got to ask, I know we're now highlighting it, but you can't be getting the crowds you used to, or has word of mouth spread enough that you're really busy this year?
Word of mouth has really helped us, and I also have a Facebook site where I'm posting a lot of, family gatherings and fun. We've had some family reunions, bachelor parties, birthday parties. So, yes, word of mouth is getting us out there, plus, a lot of friends and family that are sharing their experiences. So it's been fantastic.
Let's talk about September, October. Most folks, they do their trout fishing in April, May, and then they start doing other things. But traditionally, Jamison Lake has had its best fishing at that time of year. Is that still true?
That is true. So Jamison Lake also used to be a bi-seasonal lake, and so now it's open from the 4th weekend in April through October 31st. So that's a change from years past. It's been that way for the past 2 years.
All right. So, folks, it sounds like you need to make plans to go to Jamison Lake this month and next month, too. As for the resort, let's talk about what you have there. So you have 40 RV sites that are lakefront. What else do you have at the resort for folks?
So we also rent travel trailers. We've got 8, and then we have 2 single-wide mobile homes. We have beautiful public showers and bathrooms. They're actual bathrooms, they're not outhouses. We also have a restaurant here that is open. Right now with the COVID, we're only being open on Saturdays from 4 to 7, but we have a wonderful menu with nothing on it more than $8.99. We're known for our JLR burger, which is a 3rd-pound hamburger with 3 pieces of smoked bacon and Tillamook cheese, and folks have told us that we've got the best hamburger in Douglas County.
Well, I'll tell you what, I just listening to that, I want to drive up there and have one. So eat myself a JLR burger and do myself some trout fishing and maybe head out on the lake and get some of those monster kokanee 14, 16 inchers. Nothing to sneeze at all. If folks want to reserve a space with you, what's the best way to do it?
They can either do it through Facebook at Jamison Lake North End, or they can call at 509-683-1929.
That's 509-683-1929. 509-683-1929, or go to Facebook, look for Jamison Lake North End. That's the Facebook page for Jamison Lake Resort. Make plans to head there this month and in October. The crowds are going to be mainly gone, but the fishing's going to be fantastic. And if you're there on Saturday, you can try that JLR burger too. Julie, thanks so much for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you so much, John.
How's the fishing?
If you could parachute a boat into this backcountry lake, it would be great. There's plenty of trout jumping out there, but I can't cast to them from the shore. Hey, what's that?
You may not be able to airdrop a boat here, but with Wilderness Light, you can pack an ultralight float tube in. This float tube, including the pump and fins, weighs less than 5 pounds and are compact enough to fit in my day pack. Order your Wilderness Light ultralight float tube at wildernesslightfloattubes.com.
Wildernesslightfloattubes.com?
Wildernesslightfloattubes.com. Get out where the fish are without the weight.
Nature at its finest. That's what you'll find in Northeast Oregon's Wallowa County. Paddle a kayak or go fishing at Wallowa Lake. Hike into the Eagle Cap Wilderness or soak in the views after taking the tram to the top of Mount Howard. Then take time to explore the towns of Joseph and Enterprise. No matter how you take in this country, you're sure to enjoy it. That's the beauty of Wallowa County, and that's why we're home to one of Oregon's 7 wonders. Find out more at WallowaCountyChamber.com.
Go fishing, help salmon, and make money. You can do it through September 30th by catching northern pike minnow and turning them in for cash. Here's how it works. First, register at a designated station on the Columbia or Snake River. Then, go fishing. At the end of the day, turn in any pike minnow you catch 9 inches or longer and look for the ones with tags worth $500. You'll get vouchers for those pike minnow you turn in, and you mail those in for cash. Find out more at pikeminnow.org.
Sportsman's Warehouse is America's premier outfitter, and with over 90 locations, you're sure to find a store near you full of the gear you need to succeed this hunting season. Firearms, ammo, archery equipment, decoys, clothing, boots, and more. You'll find it all at Sportsman's Warehouse. Better still, the knowledgeable staff can help you with tips and frequent in-store seminars, all designed to help you bag a trophy or a limit this hunting season. Find a location near you or shop online today at sportsmanswarehouse.com.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. Join the habitat leader and help create wildlife habitat in your community. Go to pheasantsforever.org.
We've got time for one more shot of Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
I'm glad you're back because I need to tell you about the Sportsman's Warehouse bird hunting sale that's going on through Monday. If you're in the market for a new shotgun, you've got to get down to your local Sportsman's Warehouse store because they've got just about any type of shotgun you would want on sale with prices anywhere from $50 to $250 off, plus shotgun ammo and all sorts of dove and duck hunting gear you need for the season ahead is on sale too. So get on down to your Sportsman's Warehouse store this weekend. And if for some reason you can't, you can still get some good deals online at sportsmans.com. And now, it's time for your Sportsman's Warehouse Trivia Question of the Week. Last weekend, we told you about the Dee River in Oregon, one of the rivers claiming to be the shortest in the world. This week, we'll ask you to name the one that was actually in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the shortest river in the world. I can tell you, it is located near Great Falls, Montana in a state park, and you can easily walk its entire length of 201 feet in about, a minute or so. Do you know the name of this river, which for years was the undisputed champion when it came to being the shortest river in the world? If you do, go to our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio, like and follow it, and give us your answer on the post where we've got the question. If you don't do Facebook, that's okay. Just go to our website at northwesternoutdoors.com, go to the Contact Us page, and let us know the name of the river that was crowned the shortest river in the world, located near Great Falls, Montana. One lucky person who guesses right wins that $25 gift card we give away every week from America's premier outfitter. We've also got one final reminder about our Sharp Summer giveaway that we're doing on our America Outdoors Radio Facebook page. If you haven't already, go to that Facebook page, like and follow it. Look for the post where we've got this giveaway of $110 worth of great gear from Work Sharp Tools. And just tell us what state you're from. That's all we need to know. That's all you have to do to enter. We are going to pick one lucky entrant on August 31st. You only get to enter once, so if you've already done it, don't worry about it. You're entered. But somebody's going to win this, and it could be you. Again, America Outdoors Radio Facebook page. Like and follow it, and enter our Sharp Summer giveaway. Labor Day weekend is next weekend, and a lot of folks are going to be outside in parks, on the beaches, and on the trails. As a matter of fact, a lot of these places have been absolutely mobbed this summer by people who are rediscovering nature during the summer of COVID-19. Unfortunately, Not all of these new visitors seem to care for nature as much as they should, because a lot of folks are parking in places that they shouldn't, and there are reports from all of our northwestern states about garbage, and more garbage being left at trailheads, on beaches and picnic areas, and just strewn about everywhere. Folks, if you're listening and you're one of these individuals who is doing this, please pack out what you bring in. There's little to no garbage service at these places. I think some people don't realize that. And government isn't in a great position to clean up your mess in the outdoors, but you are. Give nature some love and don't litter. As for the rest of you who already treasure our natural places, I've got a challenge for you. Usually, I live by the motto of bring out one more item of litter than you bring in. This summer, though, we need to do more than that. Bring a grocery bag or maybe a small garbage bag with you when you're outdoors and fill it up with some of the trash we are finding out there in those parks and beaches and trails. If enough of us do this, we can put a dent into this trashing of Mother Nature and turn it back into the pristine places that we love. Until next time, do take care, stay healthy, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.